In continuation to the video that we released a couple of days ago for the 10th year anniversary, wanted to share with the community what the Great Legalization movement actually did in the last 10 years. And just to summarize, we have about 10 points to actually share what are all the efforts that was put in. And a couple of these efforts were actually successful, a couple of these efforts were actually failure. But we are going to learn exactly what has been done by this legalization movement in the last 10 years. One of the first things and the beginning where the seed actually sprouted was when we got a call from the cancer patient who was using a cannabis oil that after using the cannabis oil, the stomach cancer that the patient was suffering from had completely disappeared. So that was a moment where whatever the research that was done up until that time, which was about 5 years of research, it gave enough conviction that the legalization has to be achieved in this country, because the number of cancer patients in this country are increasing. Cancer is an epidemic and that's growing across the world, and yet we always keep hearing from the scientific community that there is no cure for cancer. Chemotherapy is the only thing that we have, radiation is the only thing that we have, many of the other experimental drugs that's going to put patients with unbelievable amount of suffering, very expensive, and there is no cure. It's just a whole loss of money for the patient's family members, and also eventually after taking all of those synthetic drugs, the patient themselves will die, not out of cancer but by taking all of these things, taking all of these drugs like chemotherapy and radiation. So one of the first project that the GLM started was to revive an ancient medicine, the medicine that belonged to India, the medicine that was discovered in India, the medicine that was used in our Ayurvedic system, something that everyone had forgotten. We brought it back to life. So that revival of ancient medicine was one of the first things and one of the earliest seed sprouting that happened for the legalization movement. And somehow while talking to a lot of patients who got in touch with me soon after that, it was discovered that there are thousands of patients who wrote letters and mails saying how they were abused in the healthcare system, and how they took all this chemotherapy and radiation that was suggested by the doctors, and then they lost lakhs and lakhs of rupees, and yet they lost the patient too at the end. After listening to all of these stories that was written to the organization by various people from across the country, the conviction for the legalization movement became even more strong. And for some reason, the universe connected me with one of my gurus, who is Mr. Rick Simpson, who had discovered the cure for cancer, who gave birth to this entire new way of taking cannabis medicine, which is not the way of the consuming bhang, which is not the way of smoking cannabis, which is not the way of eating the leaves or drinking the tea. He had created a recipe which is called as Rick Simpson oil, which the world calls it as Rick Simpson oil. And somehow the universe connected GLM and Rick Simpson together, and then Rick Simpson came down to India, and then we successfully managed to create the nation's first medical cannabis conference in 2015 on May 10th that happened in Bangalore. We were supposed to do 2 more events after that, which was planned in Mumbai and Delhi, and the Mumbai event got cancelled, and the Delhi also had to be put out because there was a lot of force in Mumbai to not make sure that our voices get heard. However, we had a great event in Bangalore where about 200-300 people came down, and then we had Rick Simpson gave his entire speech about why legalization matters, and then followed by me and my presentation. And the event was amazing. The journalists, the newspapers, the headlines in Bangalore Mirror. So those were the immediate sparks, where up until that time, since 1985 till 2015, for about 30 years, no one did anything about the prohibition. So Great Legalization movement became that pioneering force in bringing back the ancient medicine and also creating the nation's first medical cannabis conference. We wanted to host a whole lot of conferences after that, but then due to a lot of either the political pressure or couple of other factors that we are not aware of, the events did not take place. And so what went on after that was we continued to start researching, and we started ideating what is it that the people want to know. They know, they've heard about the plant cannabis, they've heard about, in India mostly people know it by the name ganja. They don't know what marijuana is. If you can go out and then talk to any people out there, anyone, be it an auto driver or a taxi driver or a grocery seller or a priest or a politician, everyone knows the word ganja. So we wanted to bring the entire knowledge bank of what ganja is about, and then make it available to the people. So unpacking, the research on cannabis became the third project, where we started creating, infusing art and also the knowledge at the same time, and then combined together to educate the public. So in 2016, a lot of art projects was created, and we started educating the public, and then we started sending out a message as to we are filing a Supreme Court case, and people can start sending their pictures or their messages to us. And then a whole lot of community members from across the country started sharing their opinions and thoughts for the first time. So it was no longer just one person talking, it was no longer just the organization which was leading the movement. The people started taking action, which was a great thing. And thank you all for everyone who actually participated in that particular project. And if you guys are still watching from that time till now, if you are still connected with the organization, thank you so much. So soon after that, we created the national education across various social media platforms, and educated people using Facebook and Instagram, because there were a lot of force to not create events and conferences and this and that. So we used the tools like social media to connect with the people from then on. The fifth most important project of the Great Legalization movement history is when we started writing the letters in order to seek the license for what? To cultivate hemp and to cultivate medical cannabis. Both of these things are allowed as per the NDPS Act. The Section 8, the Section 10, Section 14 clearly outlinedly detailed it empowers every state government in our country to issue licenses for industrial cultivation and medicinal cannabis research. But when we started the project from Karnataka, where we started approaching the health ministry, the health commissioner, various different bureaucrats, started writing the letters, meeting the ministers, so to push the government to actually take actions and to give us the license. And that was one of a great project that actually happened for the legalization movement, because that is when we came to know that the government is not clearly interested to take any kind of charge when it comes to even using the Section 8, Section 10 and Section 14 of the NDPS 1985, the Act, which prohibits cannabis and then which allows all the horticultural research or industrial research or the medicinal research to take place. The governments were not interested. And so while doing all of the rounds in Karnataka, we tried to approach many other governments also in various different states, and again the same pushback. We went and met the narcotics commissioner in Gwalior. That also did not work out. And then finally the nationwide meet number 1 and meet number 2. Again, thank you all for who participated in 8 cities and 16 cities across India, who came down on the streets and then tried to hold the placards, tried to voice their opinions out, create that small micro community. All of these things were happening, and then GLM wrote a letter to our then Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, asking for legalization and sharing all the knowledge with them, saying that the state governments are not taking charge, and as a Prime Minister you need to push this particular policy in order to bring the plant out. The Prime Minister's letter is also available on the website for whoever wants to read this particular thing. And then surprisingly, that also did not work out. The Prime Minister wrote a letter to the Ministry of Healthcare, Family and Health and Family Welfare, asking them to give valuable reasons. And Ministry of Health and Family Welfare wrote a letter to the ICMR saying, give us the reasons why we should legalize cannabis or not legalize cannabis. ICMR wrote a letter back to the central government, but they never disclosed it to us as per the records. And then nothing was done after that. We waited for up to 500, 600 days. Like every day counts when it comes to prohibition not still being enforced, because there are so many millions of patients who are not having access to the medicines. And because we failed on the state government level, because we failed on the central government level, one of the most important projects that GLM did at that point of time was to decide to step into the court, because this is clearly violating the constitutional rights of every citizen in this country. So we approached many lawyers across the country, and no one was actually interested and willing to take up the case. And finally we had Advocate Sai Deepak and also Advocate Arvind Dattarji from Delhi, who started being okay with this particular idea, and then immediately they opened up meetings for us, and then we started discussing about the possibilities of how to file the petition. And then the sixth project, as we are discussing right now, was filing the petition successfully for the first time since the prohibition, asking for a full-scale legalization. There were a lot of foes in the High Court, and there was a lot of drama that happened, which is we can clearly discuss in a couple of upcoming videos. But finally the court admitted the matter and asked the government to respond on this particular case. And immediately, soon after that particular thing happened, the lockdown started. And at the same time, we were also working on creating a policy framework that is very ideal, and keeping it completely in tune to how we need to protect the rights of the farmers. That is what GLM is actually fighting for. There are a lot of things that we are fighting for, but one of the core issues that we are trying to fight for is the cannabis and the cannabis hemp plant, which is the medicinal product and also the industrial product. These are the two last possibilities left for all of the farmers. Now think about India, like 89% of the population is still living in the rural population, and over 500 million people in this country are in the agricultural sector. So by bringing this two variants of cannabis, which is the medicinal cannabis and the industrial use of cannabis, the farmers become the raw material supplier for the entire country, and that we wanted to protect, and we wanted to make sure that we want to do nothing but the best so that the farmers are completely economically empowered. So our policy framework that we were drafting in order to hand it over to the government was completely in alignment with how to make sure that the maximum economy reaches down towards the farmers. So while that was happening, a lot of videos were shared, which is at that time, like the hopes were given by the lawyers and advocates that within 1 year we will be able to close this matter in the court, because it's such an important issue. But somehow during the lockdown nothing happened, and all the cases that was filed prior to the COVID, everything was actually kept on hold. But just to tell you guys, cannabis was actually the cure for COVID-19 and the side effects of all of the things that came from the coronavirus, the pneumonia, the immune response in the human body, the breathlessness factor. All of these things could have been easily resolved. Me personally wrote a letter to ICMR in March 2020 asking them that we know that you are going to go into the vaccination program, but here's a natural vaccination, an antibiotic, an antiviral medicinal plant that belongs to Ayurveda that we can use completely in order to make this product available to everyone. We don't need to try out experimental vaccinations on people, but here's the real cure for anti-viral activity that the country needs at that particular moment. Again, just like how we have experienced with writing letters to the governments before, no response from ICMR, no response from PMO, and somehow lockdown went through, the case was not taken up, and endless amount of delays until the whole thing opened up again in the judicial sector. But during that time, a couple of videos were made, a lot of social media awareness was created. Liberate 2020. We really thought that the plant is going to get liberated in 2020, in the year 2020, because we filed the case in 2019. So the videos started getting released in order to empower the entire community again with a lot of information on our Great Legalization Movement Instagram page, and also Liberate Cannabis for India Instagram page. All of this information is still available. So if anyone is coming to the organization newly fresh right now, you can still go to our Instagram page and then check out the stories, or go to a separate account called Liberate Cannabis for India, where all of this information is also available. So soon after that, one of the other things that the GLM organization successfully did was, empower a lot of entrepreneurs in this country to take charge. And one of the most successful project that we have had was, from the Himalayan hemp industries, which again was offshoot of Great Legalization Movement India. And then we wanted to protect the Himalayan hemp varieties before the legalization happened, because if we do not protect the seeds of the Himalaya, what was naturally available, what has been evolving in the Himalayas for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, soon after the legalization, wrong policy, any kind of genetically modified hemp varieties is going to take over the entire land space across the Himalayas. So we wanted to protect that. So Himalayan hemp industries was established specifically for that particular reason. And also as part of Indian Hemp Research Organization, a couple of employees who were working with Great Legalization Movement at that time, they created a successful product by creating a sanitary pad for women. So all the sanitary pads that are being used by women right now is mostly, made from plastic or polyesters, fabric and fibers, which are very dangerous to the woman. And then a natural sanitary pad that was made completely 100% out of cannabis hemp fibers, which is reusable, rewashable, and it is extremely safe. It has antibacterial properties. It is lacking any kind of urinary tract infection for the woman. All of these things were developed during that entire period. So we wanted to empower a whole lot of entrepreneurs, and we successfully did that. That is again one of the most important milestones for the organization. And while this has been happening since 2021, 22, 23, me and a couple of my team members, we discovered a whole lot of literature and material from the scientific research papers and legally what is happening across the entire world, all the policies that various different countries are putting out, the research that is required for agro development in this particular country, the industrial bioproduct research, the cultural aspects of how cannabis was used from thousands of years ago till now, and also the spiritual and ritualistic elements of cannabis which no one really talks about. So all of this research have become almost like a backbone for our petition. We have added all of these scientific research and this and that in our petition, and the matter is still being heard. And our next final hearing arguments for this particular matter between Great Legalization Movement and the Union of India is approaching on November 27th or November 28th of this particular month, in the next few days. And we will share most of this information with our community again. So but just to summarize, this research and all the efforts that were put in is going to change the mindset of anyone who wants to still continue to say that cannabis is either not beneficial or cannabis is should be prohibited and it doesn't deserve a legalization. People, if any one of you guys still think that, why don't you invite me for a talk, and then we can definitely discuss and put it out and share that particular podcast with the entire community. And again, just to summarize, the 10th project, according to me, which is of all the things that has been described right now, the ultimate achievement that has happened so far, though we are still not successful with the petition that is being heard in the Delhi High Court. That judgment still needs to come. The final arguments is happening right now. The reviving, with all the knowledge that is being brought down to the community, what GLM has successfully done so far in the last 10 years is we have revived the lost treasure of India. According to me, cannabis is a very, very big treasure because it can save lives, it can create shelters, it has a great fiber through which we can stitch clothes. The nutritional aspect of it that comes from the seeds is absolutely a super powerhouse of energy. It can, we don't need to kill animals. All the vegans who are out there who want to shift to a very high protein diet, cannabis hemp seeds is the best thing out there. And the flowers ultimately, like the ganja, which is the greatest medicine known to mankind, according to me, because it has the ability to take your pain away, it has the ability to bring your body into a proper homeostasis, it has the ability to calm your mind and relax your mind, and being stress-free is ultimately one of the greatest health aspects. Of course, you can do it with meditation and yoga and traveling and this and that, all of those things, agreed, no doubt. But when a dying patient or a patient is suffering from serious illness and their pain is so high that they're unable to relax themselves and they're being constantly put on painkillers or endless other drugs, which is just harming their body, this one little plant and this one little flower can take care of hundreds of diseases and various different symptoms of the body. So various symptoms of the body. So what we have done is, in order to revive the lost treasure of India, cannabis was completely lost. People had put it, prohibited and thrown it out of people's consciousness. And what GLM has done so far is to bring back the knowledge, bring back the intention of legalization, bring back the purpose of why we need to do this, all of these things. So we are working for this particular revival, and thank you so much for all of the guys who have been supporting us for the last 10 years. We definitely need to grow. So if you would like to be part of the legalization movement, the most simplest thing that you can do at this point of time is to go to our website, share it with as many people as possible, go to our Instagram handle, share all the content with as many people as possible. We have a wonderful series that we have created called The Ganja Situation, which has 7 episodes. Share that with a lot of people. And make sure that discussions continue. Ask the politicians who you have voted for in order to press for the discussions related to the legalization. Do not leave them. The power of the democracy lies in the hands of the people. If you guys don't choose to act, nothing is going to happen. So while me is working, my organization is working, we need your support. And also in terms of what we have to do next, what is the idea for the legalization movement for the next 10 years, we will catch you back again in the next video. Thank you.